Yīnyáng, navigating China's different shades of gray. Mastering the gray areas is to doing business in China what political correctness is to corporate America. It's mandatory. You wouldn't expect to survive in an American boardroom while completely ignoring the unwritten social codes of conduct. Yet Westerners routinely parachute into China expecting success while remaining delusional about its gray zone operating system. This ignorance creates a false sense of leverage. It's foolish to assume that any overt strength translates into bargaining power in China. Even if you are Jensen Huang, whose company controls 90% of the silicon driving the next industrial revolution, you must face China's reality. It can wait. China has infinite patience. It has invisible hands actively guiding its indigenous industries to replace you. And China has more of what we lack: a gigantic, highly skilled, educated, and trained workforce that doesn't feel entitled, isn't chasing money, and is willing to work harder and longer than their Western counterparts. Now, this is good news: an immense pool of talent ready and eager to join your team. But this brings us to the ultimate leadership dilemma that pinpoints exactly why so many Western companies eventually downsize or withdraw from China. They cannot lead a gray zone workforce with an absolutist black and white mindset. Western leaders come up short because they don't master managing the different shades of gray across China's business landscape. This is the maddening vagueness. Geopolitics and statecraft are composed of strategic ambiguities. The equivalent within China is the maddening vagueness with which most Chinese staff answer direct, unambiguous questions from their Western managers. Yes, it's cultural, but it is also tactical and conditional. As an American, I have learned that when I'm frustrated by their lack of specificity and accountability, it is a clear signal that I'm asking the wrong questions. And until I adjust the fundamental nature of our dialogue, I will remain stuck in an impasse. We've discussed how they operate, which is Guanxi, and what they consider, which is Lìyì. Now it's time to imagine or reimagine where they operate. I describe the where as an area that has infinite shades of gray. Western business culture values clarity, rules, processes, and transparency. But to our Chinese counterparts, however, this obsession with this world-class method is humorous and naive. They wonder, why would anyone deliberately speak in such a rigid manner as to cut off all pathways to greater prosperity? To get things done in China, especially when roadblocks appear, you must understand the practical application of yin-yang thinking. It isn't some ancient Chinese philosophy emphasizing balance. In our analogy, it is the pragmatism of not becoming the nail that gets hammered down. It's the mentality of shared responsibility and the practicality of positioning a face-saving off-ramp in case things get worse. The ethical gap. Each of these intuitive Chinese behaviors is rooted in their culture. And what's natural for them rarely conforms with our ethical guardrails and moral scruples. For example, in the West, we assume that under-the-table payments are bribes. Yet, we often fail to acknowledge the duplicity of our own hypocrisy and the corruption common to our own political system. There's a reason we say it takes money to make money. In China, clarity is rarely the goal, but plausible deniability is the rule. Now that a picture is beginning to form, the million-dollar question is, how can I condition myself to flourish in this environment? Unfortunately, there are no simple answers because it is generally impossible to teach an old dog new tricks. That said, to rehearse your future success in China or in the Chinese arena, we begin with these China commandments. Number 1, nothing is ever right or wrong because everything depends on something or someone else. Number 2, every commitment is fungible because Lìyì, Guanxi is dynamic and constantly evolving. And finally, Chinese people never say what they mean or mean what they say because the purpose of communicating is to give and receive face. All right, so in chapter 2, we analyzed their internal Lìyì calculus, the perceived personal benefits behind every decision. Chapter 3 builds on this by showing you how Chinese people manage the contradictions that naturally emerge from those calculations. Next, we'll reconcile the Chinese definition of trust, 信任, chapter 4, and its relationship with truth, and the ramifications when one side defaults to trust while the other side defaults to skepticism in truth default theory. All right, so if you're interested in these topics, my latest book, Speak Now, Guanxi More, is on sale, but I'm still giving away the 114-page PDF and flip book for free so you can sample it before you decide if it's something that you want to learn and practice and use as a guide.